It's a cozy Sunday today. The weather's a little bit gray, so I've got a cup of tea and I've got some candles going, and I thought it would be nice to just do a little couch episode and talk about some really important things. What I wanted to talk about today is the grocery store. I love the grocery store. I am one of those weirdos that loves grocery shopping. It's a hobby for me more than anything. I love looking at prices. I love roaming the aisles and seeing what's new. But there are a few things that I would say you should never buy at the grocery store. And this list keeps expanding, and especially in this past year, there are a few things that I've just acquired in other ways, and I highly, highly recommend it. The first thing you shouldn't buy at the grocery store is kitchen tools and cookware. I'm talking about that aisle that has the spatulas and the can openers and those half-size baking sheets that are so thin that they're gonna just warp the second you put them in the oven. This is not an aisle for buying any real cooking gear. I understand that sometimes you need a tinfoil turkey roaster and it's just gotta happen, and I totally get that. But if you're looking to invest in proper kitchen equipment, this is not the aisle you want to be visiting. The stuff in this aisle is just crappy generally, and it's overpriced, and it's just no good, and they don't have that great of a selection. If you're shopping for kitchen tools and gadgets, I highly recommend skipping the grocery store and going straight to the kitchen store, or sometimes like a good hardware store will have kitchen stuff. Or you can also find a lot of really good things online, especially when you go directly to the manufacturer. You can also get some really good kitchen stuff at the thrift store. I made a whole video about kitchen tools that I spend top dollar on versus kitchen tools I buy at the thrift store, so I'll link that somewhere. But definitely no grocery store. Just don't do it. The next thing I don't buy at the grocery store is kind of a new one for me, and it's coffee. So I know that this might be a bit of a special circumstance because I live in a place with tons of coffee roasters, and this particular one is Bows and Arrows, which is a really, really lovely coffee roaster here in town. But the cool thing about my local roastery, and I'm fairly certain that a lot of cities and towns have this now, is that they do a subscription service. So I order my coffee online, I ask them to send it once every 2 weeks, and it just shows up in my mailbox. This particular roastery uses fair farming practices, and they're just an awesome company overall. And I don't have to think about coffee ever. Highly recommend. The next thing I never buy at the grocery store is probably not going to be any surprise to you if you watch this show, and that's mayonnaise. So I make my own homemade mayonnaise. I've made 2 videos about it in the past. I love mayo, you love mayo, but is there a better way to make mayo? Sometimes I make the vegan version with aquafaba, sometimes I make the egg version. Either way, I always have mayo on hand. It's always homemade. I never buy it at the grocery store, and it's great. Another thing I never buy at the grocery store is herbal tea. Quite a few years ago, I started spending more time in the kind of back corner of my local health food store where they kept all of the bulk herbs. And I realized that they had bulk blended teas as well, herbal teas. And I just started scooping them into bags and testing them out and realizing that they're so much cheaper than buying tea bags from the grocery store, especially like herbal tea bags. When you buy herbal tea from the grocery store, you get usually like 20 tea bags or something, and each one only has about, 5 grams of herbal tea in the bag. And then you have all the bags. And so you're spending like $5 sometimes on a box of, 60 grams of tea. Whereas when you go to the health food store, or even online, there's a really good website called iherb.com, and you can get huge amounts of herbal tea, Like this bag of peppermint, which has 453 grams in it. And I think this cost about 17 bucks. So out of this, I could make so many tea bags. I'm not gonna make them into tea bags. I'm just gonna use my steeper. But this is a crazy good value compared to boxes of tea bags. Plus, usually these are wrapped in plastic, you know, individual tea bags, and I don't know, who knows how long they've been sitting on the shelf. Buying herbal tea in bulk is such a good way to go. This is another batch of chamomile that I got from that same online supplier. And look how much freaking chamomile there is in here. I'm gonna have chamomile tea for a year, and I can give some away as gifts, and it's so great. This is an old pickle jar that I used. I also have this bag of rooibos tea that I got from my local health food store. And again, there's 400 grams in here. So that's almost a pound. And I think it was about 11 bucks. For the price of 2 tea bag boxes, I get a whole pound of tea, and I can just make tea for days. And it just feels so lush. To have plenty of something that you really love, even if it's just as simple as some herbal tea, it just feels really luxurious, you know? The other thing about herbal tea is that sometimes I just forage from my neighborhood. So I'll go around in the springtime and collect mint and lemon balm and stinging nettles and all kinds of other things from my neighborhood. And then I'll just dehydrate those things by leaving them out on trays, you know, in a room with a nice cool breeze for a few days. And I've got herbal tea, and it's just totally free. It makes you feel really cool when you do that too. Another thing that I never buy at the grocery store anymore is laundry detergent. Laundry detergent is one of those things that I've always kind of hated buying it. Like I go to the aisle and I look around and, you know, it's just something I don't like spending money on. It's like one of those necessities that you kind of, you know you need it, but you don't really want to buy it. And for some reason, it's stupidly expensive. So quite a few years ago, I started making laundry detergent based on a recipe I found on Pinterest. And since then, my mom has been iterating on this recipe for a while. And now it's just my go-to. And all it is equal parts borax, washing soda, and like a grated bar of soap, which I sometimes do in a food processor. And it's so cheap. It's like you buy a box of each of those things once. And I think I've been working on the same box of these things for like over a year now. And it's not even halfway empty. Like I think you buy the supplies once and you have laundry detergent for basically 10 years. So it's so cheap, and it's actually pretty easy too. So yeah, no more laundry detergent at the grocery store. There are quite a few other things I don't buy at the grocery store anymore, and I'll probably do another video with 5 more things pretty soon, but I'd be curious to know in the meantime, what are the things that you've kind of found loopholes with that you don't buy at the grocery store anymore, that you have like another secret source that is cheaper, better, and just overall more awesome. Let's continue this conversation in the comments. I'd love to hear about your ideas. And thanks for joining me on the couch today. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you in the next video.